Remember, this is my list only, nobody else's. Only one game per series is allowed, so just sit back and enjoy my top 10 games of all time. Number 10. Number 10 is Sonic Adventure. Yes, this game is one from the past. I originally played this on the Dreamcast and I immediately fell in love. Of course, Sonic the Hedgehog, a well-known main character basically that fell into the trap of being shitty eventually. And yeah, when they brought out this game for the Dreamcast, people immediately loved it. Got great ratings, got great reviews. And the fact that it went to 3D and people were a bit skeptical at first, it was a great transition for Sega, basically. And you know what? He did well for himself and even brought out a sequel with Sonic Adventure 2, which carried on that same feel, that great feeling of running around random areas in 3D and doing the same thing that Sonic has always done, saving the little creature things that I don't even know what they do, but still, he's still a badass. And Sonic has gone down a bit, but you know, I mean, look at all these characters you can play as: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Big, and even that robot E thing. Yeah, you can play as him. Number 9. Number 9, Eternal Sonata. Now, many people may not have heard of this game at all, but it is an absolutely stunning game, as you can see from these visuals. One of the traditional JRPG games that is created based on the influence of music, and it is a fantastic game. Very simplistic, but the characters really create that great RPG mood that's needed. You've got your typical villains that are trying to stop you from progressing in the story, and it got fantastic reviews. I mean, it did that well that Sony decided that they wanted this on the PS3, because originally it was just out for the Xbox 360, and they decided, you know what, we want it for the PS3 because the ratings were that good, and people just immediately loved this game. I mean, look at the visuals on this game, absolutely awesome, and it got, like I say, fantastic reviews. One of my top RPGs that I've ever played anyway. So Eternal Sonata, definitely on my list at number 9. Number 8. Number 8, Half-Life 2. Now, if you haven't played a Half-Life game, what the fuck are you doing? Go and play a Half-Life game. You're missing out. It's badass. Now, I'm not going to lie, I played this on the orange box for the Xbox 360, not for the original PC port. So I didn't know much about this. Well, of course I'd heard of it and everything, and heard all the good things, and I decided to buy the orange box and play Portal, etc. And Half-Life 2 I absolutely thought was amazing. Brilliant. Of course, I got episode 1 and 2 of it as well, so that's kind of included in this as well, because it's still Half-Life 2. And yeah, this game was just brilliant. You played as Gordon Freeman. I don't really remember much from the story, other than the fact that people are trying to kill you, and you've got to prevent that from happening. So yeah, everything about the voice acting in this is fantastic, absolutely brilliant. That's one of the things that sets this game apart. The brilliant voice acting, the great graphics for the time that it came out, and many people will agree that this is definitely on my top 10 list. Number 7. Number 7, Kingdom Hearts. Wow. Now, I'm a massive fan of Final Fantasy, spoiler alert, and this took that mix of Disney with Final Fantasy. Now, immediately people thought, how can this be a success? How can Disney combined with Final Fantasy be a success? Well, it proved a lot of people wrong. The game was a huge success for Sony, and he's still now. I mean, he's just now, recently, the Kingdom Hearts 3 has been announced. No date, but it's been announced, and that got a big uproar. People have been waiting for that to come out. So Kingdom Hearts is definitely on this list. Going around, visiting planets, seeing all your classical Disney characters. I mean, what more do you want? It's Disney and Final Fantasy. That is a recipe for success. Number 6. Number 6 had to be a Pokemon game. Pokemon Gold / Silver. Mainly Gold, because that's the one that I played. I remember that all I used to do was, when I was younger, and I had to go out with my parents, shopping or whatever, I used to always bring my Game Boy Advance and just play this game. That's all I used to do. I kept quiet, kept me out of trouble, and that's what I used to do when I had to go out. And even when I was stuck in the house, I still played this game, Pokemon Gold, because it's Pokemon. God damn. I mean, everyone knows how to play Pokemon. It's a simplistic game. You collect Pokemon and you fight trainers that also have Pokemon. And if you beat him, then you win. Unless you're playing gym leaders, and then you win badges. And then if you get enough badges, you get to go to the final championships, blah, 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 blah. You know how it is. That's how Pokemon's always worked. Why fix something that ain't broke? It always works, and of course you get the usual TM or HM. And he goes, yeah, well done. You're awesome. You beat me. Number 5. Number 5, Gears of War. Gears of War. Wow. I love this game. Right? This was pretty much one of the first games I played for the Xbox 360. And I'd never played anything like it. I mean, I was one of these that played them all laid back, fantasy-themed games, and this is one of the goriest games I've played. And I remember I was about 15 or something like that, and I remember playing, I had mates around, and we were playing it, and the first time we saw the Berserker, we shit ourselves. I put the controller down and says, do you want to play now? And he goes, fuck that, I ain't playing that shit. But this game, mainly the multiplayer, it just, all our friends played. We actually had that many friends that wanted to play in the same game at the same time that people had to wait. There was like a queue to play in the same game, and sometimes we had to split people up. Now, of course, Gears of War has changed a lot, not for the better in my opinion. I loved the dark, gritty Gears of War. Gears of War 2 was an improvement, but Gears of War 1 was the birth of a fantastic game, and something different in a third-person view. Something that I loved, and I mean, look at this. You've got chainsaws on your gun. What more do you want? Number 4. Number 4. MGS3, Snake Eater. Had to be there.
After the end of World War II, the world was split into two. East and West.
I mean, that's brilliant. East and West. David Hayter, what a legend. He is no longer playing Snake, however, in the new Metal Gear Solid that was announced for the next-gen consoles. And that's a shame, but he's still a badass. We all love him. Metal Gear Solid has always been known for its quirky nature, its humour, but it's just fantastic gameplay. It's amazing enemies. Snake himself, of course, is just a legend within gaming, and this game never fails. Of course, there are different ways to play this game, usually sneaky. Here, not so much. So usually when you get caught, you hide in logs. You can hide in logs. What more do you want? You can hide in logs, hide in grass, you can eat snakes, you can climb trees, you can tranquilize people in the head, look round. I mean, look at that. The games aren't made like this anymore. Metal Gear Solid, apart from Metal Gear Solid. I mean, you can hide in grass like it. Tranquilizers are your best friends on this game. If you want to be sneaky, you can be sneaky. If you want to be aggressive, you can be aggressive. It depends on your play style, but the story for me in Metal Gear Solid games in general make this game perfect. And everyone loves Metal Gear Solid. Of course, you can play sneaky, or you can play aggressive. Like that.
Number 3.
Number 3, Fallout 3. This world is massive, absolutely gigantic, and it took me a while to actually purchase this game. I remember watching the first trailer and gameplay for this, and I was blown away. Never even heard of Fallout. That's how naive I was. Never even heard of it. Then when I saw this and I saw the VAT system, which is one of the most unique properties of this game, or of games in general. I've never really seen a VAT system in any other game. If you don't know the VAT system, as you can see here, you can specifically aim towards any part of the body, and that percentage will be dependent on the weapon, how far you are away. And people thought, well, that looks a bit too easy, and no, it's not. It's not. Trust me, it's a fantastic part of Fallout now, and it's what makes it that bit more unique. I mean, when you come to that, look, Super Mutant Brute, you can steal weapons.
Number 2.
Number 2, Mass Effect 2. Now, it was between this and Fallout 3 to take that number 2 place, but Mass Effect 2, the story for me, I'm very story driven. I've been used to playing RPGs that are very story driven, and this had that great balance between fantastic combat and the great story. I mean, the voice acting for me sets it apart from any other game, really. You have very, very good voice actors in this game, well-known actors in fact, and the fact that there's so much to do in this game, so much to say, and there's so many different ways that you can make a difference within that story, depending on a previous game. Mass Effect 1, of course. Mass Effect 1 was a fantastic game. Mass Effect 2 took out all the bad parts from Mass Effect 1 and just made it brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, look at the cinematics in the game. I mean, look, you've got Scotty from Austin Powers. Yeah, and you see naked chicks with boobs. Yeah, the polygons and it's all graphics, but look, boobs. I mean, it's just a fantastic game. One of my favourite, if not the favourite RPG game of all time. But it's not quite number 1. So we're getting close to that number 1. But what is it? I wonder. I mean, look, these cinematics. It's not number 1. Mass Effect 2 is not number 1. Mass Effect 3 is not going to be there, of course, because you can only have one game. So what is number 1?
Number 1.
Number 1 is Final Fantasy IX. Now, I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, it's a Final Fantasy game. Typical. I don't care. This is my list. Final Fantasy IX is amazing. It is the game that every time I hear the opening, I think, wow. Nobuo Uematsu, who is the composer for all the great Final Fantasy games. I'm not talking about Final Fantasy 13 or all like that. Or going way back to 7, 8, 9, 6, 5, all those. You know, he's the one that creates that feeling of you're in a world, but you have your friends with you. There's so much to do in this game. The great thing is you play... The main character is Zidane or Zidane, however you want to pronounce that. And he's not a pussy, like in Final Fantasy 7 with Cloud or Squall in Final Fantasy 8. He's not a pussy. He's a bandit. He flirts with all the women. He's just a great character. And the fact that you can track back to other sequences with other characters really creates that diverse story for everyone. And it's just a fantastic game. You have to play this game. If you're an RPG fan especially, you have to play this game. The alternative to the limit break in this is, which is basically like a special power, is the trance, which was alright. You couldn't decide when to have it or not, but the characters in this game make Final Fantasy, and of course, what way to end but that. Here is the final list. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Of course, Final Fantasy 9 takes #1 position, and I think that list's pretty damn solid. Of course, this is my list. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Bye bye.